Good evening and welcome to The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. This is a program that talks about political trends and, of course, bridges the gap between the government and the people and explains government policies better to the people. My name is Rachel David White. Today on the program, we'll take a look at some of the trending reports we have for today. I'm talking about Governor Omoino. He has actually warned politicians trooping to Akwa Ibom State Government House, telling them that he needs to work. Well, the governor of Akwa Ibom State headquarters noted that uninvited guests have been distracting him, even though residents of the state won't judge him on the number of visitors he had an appointment. I find it amusing that people just leave their home and just show up, and they will call you that they have not been allowed to pass through the government house gate. It says, allow us to hold the meeting we can hold. Treat some files. It says, we are almost treating files late, and I have tried to manage it for some time, but people would get angry. I will only receive visitors on Thursdays and Fridays. It says that visitors to allow me to have some time to do the job that you have elected me to do, because no one would ask how many visitors I received at the end of 4 years. They will ask what we did. It says, allow us to hold the meeting we can hold and treat you. He's locking us out. This is not the issue. The issue is, let's try and understand. Okay, so let me just talk a little about this. Well, I remember that there's some time ago, after just few weeks after the governor was being inaugurated into office, he had come out to complain about the number of text messages that he has gotten to brief. And today again is coming out to talk to the number of people visiting government house, and of course calling to tell him that they haven't been allowed entrance into the government house. And he says, allow us to work, because if he's not doing a great job at the end of 4 years, people will start talking that he was elected to work and he hasn't done anything. All right, a quick one to move away from that to the national scene. Well, there are strong indications that President Bola Tinubu will this week send the list of his ministerial nominees to the Senate for screening. The president is usually required by law to forward the list of ministerial nominees to the National Assembly within 60 days of taking office. And given that Tinubu was inaugurated on May 29th, he has until July 26th to submit the list, according to law. Well, presidency sources say that the list of ministerial nominees had been prepared a while, has been ready since, but the president has made some changes in some state, and the list is expected to be forwarded to the National Assembly between Wednesday and Thursday this week, except there is any development that could delay it further. The source also added that the president is supposed to constitute his cabinet latest July 26th, so they are sure that the list will be sent to the Senate this week. Different purported ministerial lists have been in circulation in recent weeks, and of course Nigerians have been eager to see who will make the cut on the final list. And recently, presidential spokesman Dela Alake had said that the president will decide when to submit the list of nominees to the National Assembly, as well as who will be included on the list. However, he has assured that the list will be made public before the expiration of 60 days deadline. While talking about the ministerial list, some speculations have been made. Some persons have suggested some nominees that should be included in the list. The former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and of course some other governors as well, and even some appointments. But nominating people for ministerial appointment has a whole lot, because we had the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who doubled as the Minister for Petroleum, of course, and we saw how that played out. That is the sector that we had difficulty and problems, and of course it's still being delayed till today. People had a lot of things to say. So people in ministerial appointments, in ministerial positions rather, have a whole lot of role to play. So if I think the identity or personalities of people who will be appointed is not double checked by the Senate, it could cause a problem, because we'll end up having people who are being appointed into top positions that cannot deliver the task that they were appointed into that office to do. So talking about ministerial appointment, I think the president should not just be in a hurry. Yes, I know that the law says within 60 days, and of course the president has been in office since May 29th, and of course he had a lot of time to take his time, not just to listen to the kind of people that is being pointed out by people, of course to him, or people who helped him into office alone, like Wike was suggested, and then the criteria on which he was suggested was that he delivered River State to the president. He helped APC win in River State. So if ministerial appointment is given because some people helped the president win the election, I don't think that should be the only basis. Strike a balance, as the president promised Nigerians an all-inclusive governance. All right, let's move away from that and head to another trending report for today. There has been some speculations according to reports, and of course not just according to reports, we've seen it for ourselves by now, that the price of petrol has risen to around 617 naira per litre. And Elder Chinedu Koronkwo, national president of the Independent Petroleum Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, verified the event in an interview with newsmen today. He believes that fuel costs continue to fluctuate due to market forces, and this is the regime that we are in with the elimination of fuel subsidies. It says prices will continue to fluctuate due to market factors and currency fluctuations in the foreign exchange market. That is why we are advocating for a fuel alternative, according to his remarks. Well, the news comes amid concerns that petrol pump prices may be raised across the country. Recall that when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government removed fuel subsidies in June, the price of the product jumped from 190 naira per litre to almost 500 naira per litre. Some motorists told reporters that the present administration's policies are becoming increasingly tough on individuals. Well, one Nigerian, Uchenna Matthew, told reporters today that the current administration is driving Nigerians to hell. How do you feel? The fact that fuel prices increased, I have no idea how much trouble these people are costing us. They stated that NNPC has raised their pricing. We are now purchasing at 540, but they are planning to increase their price. Says this morning, in response to the new price, NNPC filling stations in Abuja witnessed brief queues. And of course, particularly the one located along Murtala Mohammed Express Road. Kado remained shut for some few hours as the patrol attendants had to adjust their fuel pumps to reflect the new price of 617 naira. Don't forget that in May, a day after President Tinubu was sworn into power, the nation's Apex petrol station increased the fuel price from 195 naira per litre to 537 naira per litre. So that was a major issue on its own already. And then talking about how it affects Nigerians, I think that take a look at the cost of living, for example, before now. And then the NLC, TUC, and other unions had called on the president to re-look, and of course, at the fuel pump price and every other thing to make it balance with the cost of living. And they had already advocated for a 200% increase in salary. And then just when the House of Reps came up with, or the National Assembly, the 10th Senate came up with proposed 70 billion naira, of course, palliative measures to cushion the effect of COVID-19 and fuel subsidy on themselves. NLC protested again and, of course, added that they do not need the 500 billion naira that the president had proposed, and of course the Senate had already assented to and signed, that they should use that to cushion the effect on 12 million Nigerian homes. That means they were going to get 8,000 naira pay homes in 6 months, and they had said that they need more than that. They need a 300% increase in their salary as well. And here we are waking up to a new pump price just today, Tuesday, a brand new day, a new pump price of petrol, and this took effect immediately without thinking twice, without looking again. Well, don't forget that I already reminded us that in May, a day after President Tinubu was sworn into power, NNPC petrol stations had increased their fuel price from 195 naira per litre to 537 naira per litre. And the development was occasioned by Tinubu's inaugural speech, where he said fuel subsidies would be removed. In the first half of 2020, the country would save close to 6.7 trillion if fuel subsidies payment is discontinued. And Nigeria has spent 13.7 trillion naira on fuel subsidy in the last 13 years, according to Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. And then just 1 month after, and then so far, well, we haven't heard what this money has been used for since it was being saved so far. Well, Nigerians continue to make the cost of living high for Nigerians as well. So when we are just trying to grapple with the fact that we are facing a tough time here, with the current price of petrol at 550 naira in some stations. Today we are hearing 617, 616 naira. And of course, you know that other stations or other marketers, independent marketers, will likely raise their fuel pump price above 616 naira. What does this mean on premium motor spirit? So the cost of garri, the cost of rice, the cost of every commodity in the market will increase, because these people will start telling you they have to, you know, they paid their way and it was costly to get these things, so they will definitely want to get their gain out. So this is not funny any longer. Nigerians are screaming. And then the president had already proposed 500 billion naira to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy on Nigerians. So what will happen now that it has increased? Well, already the people were clamoring for an increase. So what will happen? Is the president still going to take this into consideration, or work out something for Nigerians as well? So these are some of the training reports we have for today. I'd like to say, like it or leave it, fuel subsidy affects both the rich and the poor. Just that the rich may not really feel, because the money is on ground, and poorer as well. All right, so we're just going to short break. When we come right back, we'll talk about the main reports that we have for today. And of course, our guest will be ready to talk to us by then. So do stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Nigerian policy, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president, as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, welcome back. It's still the program, The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. And right about now, we are into the third report that we are talking about for today. Well, just yesterday we had, I think, just a little, a tip of the iceberg. We talked a little about the crisis ongoing in the APC. And of course, the All Progressive Congress national leadership is grappling with the trouble occasioned by the sudden resignation of its national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu. Adamu emerged as the national chairman at the party's national convention held in March 2022. He had sent in his resignation letter to the presidential Villa Abuja ahead of the return of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the African Union meeting in Kenya. Well, Adamu is a former governor of Nasarawa State, and according to a report, he had sent in his resignation letter to the chief of staff of the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, around 4 p.m. on Sunday. So there had been lots of issues grappling the APC national leadership. And today we'll be talking to Barrister Imopan. He's a legal practitioner and public affairs commentator and member of the APC. Welcome, Barrister.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. We're doing well.
Okay. All right, so let's get to the business of the day. I understand that APC, your party, has been grappling with lots of issues and internal crisis since after the elections and, of course, the emergence of Senator Godswill Akpabio as the Senate President. And recently, just yesterday, it was confirmed that the former APC chair, Abdullahi Adamu, had resigned alongside the Secretary, Omishere Iola. So that has been some of the issues. But the first question I would like to ask is it normal or is it ordinary for the chairman to just wake up and drop his resignation later? Or do you think that there is more to this than what we are just seeing?
Well, to answer your question directly, resignations of the kind that we have just seen are usually stated to be personal, for personal reasons. And so therefore, somebody can wake up and decide to say, well, for personal reasons,
I am done.
I think I have made up my mind that I don't want to continue. He is well within his rights to do that. They may also, in some other cases, there may also be other factors that may account for resignations. For instance, we have also seen in our political history in Nigeria that national chairmen or officers of political parties have been compelled to resign, where you are faced with options, options of either being impeached or removed, and then you have the other option of resigning. In most cases, you find them going for the option of resigning rather than being embarrassed.
Okay, now I'm sorry to cut you. Now let's use the case of Adamu as an example, Senate President, and of course, even when the other officers of the 10th Senate were announced, he had also said that the party had not, given out the names yet. So it was not in support of some of the emergence of this party members as being put in some different offices, especially in this. There may have been something that would have come up for him. Maybe a vote of no confidence would have been, put upon him or something.
Well, first of all, let me just say that all the information that is available now are the things we have heard in mainstream media. I have also followed, as a member of the party, I followed keenly the reports from the media. I have seen that the meeting of the National Working Committee was called yesterday. It was presided over by, or now SY National Secretary, His Excellency Senator Omishere, was also not there. And information is that he's also been replaced by the acting secretary, who was the assistant secretary, Barrister Pointer. Now, so basically, the information we have at our disposal are the things we have gleaned from mainstream media. So nobody probably can tell you, I have first-hand information as to what have transpired, to inform the decision of either the national chairman or the national secretary to resign. But then if we have to put all of these issues in perspective, they give us insight to what they have been playing on in the background. Stories or reports have it that Senator Damo, in the first place, was not in support of the allegiance of Mr. President Bola Tinubu as the candidate of the party in the first place.
Yes.
That he may have had his own preferences and probably also didn't have a way of communicating, his disposition, and so may have demonstrated in many ways that as national chairman, he would rather that some other person emerges as the candidate of the party. But also that wasn't successful. So the president, Senator Tinubu, sailed through as a candidate of the party and then went through the campaigns and then went on to win the elections. Reports also have it from people who have been keenly following events that the national chairman and key members of the National Working Committee didn't demonstrate sufficient seriousness in going around the country with the presidential candidate as at then during the campaigns. And in fact, as a person, I was confronted with some of these issues, and my explanation at the time was that, well, it is not possible to have all of these officials go around the entire country. But I remember, for instance, that when the campaign train birthed in National State, the national chairman was there, because that is his home state. So that maybe explains for why he was there. Now, after the presidential elections and the inauguration of the new president, the next challenge was the emergence of principal officers, the leadership of the National Assembly. And having zoned the offices in the House of Reps and that of the Senate, as we have today, there were still reports that the national chairman, wasn't entirely sold out to whatever decision the National Working Committee of the party had taken, and that he would have preferred, an upset, in the outcome of that exercise. And probably he was also secretly, instigating the kind of uprising we saw, which created the kind of tension that has never been seen in the emergence or in an election leading to emergence of officers of the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Now, if all of these scenarios are true, that from the primaries through to the campaigns and up to the emergence of the national officers of the National Assembly, that the national chairman of the party would have preferred choices and candidates different from that of the party, different from that of the presidential candidate, and different from that of the president himself, then it would mean that very clearly the national chairman has been working at cross purposes with the president and the cabinet. The national chairman opposed the officers announced by the Senate president and even the Speaker of the House of Representatives, saying that the party was not aware or was not privy, to these names being announced on the floor of the lower chamber and of the Senate. And I think it was a day or two after that press conference call that they were cited in the presidential villa, and then they had a very short meeting. That meeting didn't last quite 20 minutes with the president, and then left without speaking to the press. Many people think that that is when matters had come to a head, and it is possible that the president had a very short, a very brief, and a very curt message to pass across, indicating that probably he could no longer work with the national leadership of the party. We're working at cross purposes.
Okay.
And this may have culminated in what we found between day before yesterday and yesterday. Recall also that the National Executive Committee meeting of the party was scheduled to hold last week. For some reasons, it was postponed,
yes,
and rescheduled for this week. And then that didn't quite hold, and then we're hearing of this resignation. So it may be right, to conclude that probably these two officers who have resigned didn't resign of their own accord, as quote unquote for personal reasons, that they may have been pressured to resign, or they may have seen or read correctly the handwriting on the wall, and then decided to preempt, an ouster by going by parting ways with their
by
position.
themselves. Okay.
Now, if that is the case, yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Wilson.
Okay, yeah. There are also reports that the fact that the former APC chair, Adamu, could not recount for the 32 billion naira that was raised by the party through the selling of forms during the 2023 general elections may have been the reason for him to resign by himself. Like you said, he may have read the handwriting of the wall that he may be facing a vote of no confidence or an impeachment as well. What do you think about that?
Well, those are things that are still within the realm of possibility.
But is it true that he couldn't account for that? And report says it's just 7 billion naira that is being left in the party's account out of the 32 billion naira that was purchased.
No, I'm not in a position to say that is true or if it's not true, because I'm not privy to such information. I'm not a member of the National Working Committee.
Okay.
So I don't even know how much has accrued to the party since this administration came on board on the 26th of March last year.
Okay.
But we have read, serial allegations of wrongdoing and misappropriation and embezzlement of funds leveled against this leadership of His Excellency Senator Abdullah Adamu. And these allegations have come from a very high-ranking member of the party, Alhaji Lukman, I think Salih Lukman, who is the chairman who is a national vice chairman for one of the northern zones. And he has spoken persistently, consistently, authoritatively of the fact that funds cannot be accounted for, and that the books, the financial books of the party are not transparent. Nobody knows what is going on, and that as far as is concerned, the party is being run between the chairman and the national secretary. For those of us looking from the outside, this may not be clear because I don't know if the national chairman has been given an opportunity to defend or explain, or give his own side of the story, because that is probably an internal affair of the party. But supposing that is true, then that may also be part of issues that may have been tabled, and then which would have also informed the resignation of the national chairman, because that would have amounted to breach of trust, it would have amounted to abuse of office, it would have also amounted to criminal infraction, which would require security agencies looking into the books of the party to see if the allegations are true or not.
Okay, away from that, there has been some comment from the former aviation minister. Of course, he says it is the turn of the Southeast geopolitical zone to produce the chairman for APC, a national chairman as well. How does that work?
Well, I don't know what informs that. When things like this happen, we hear all sorts of opinions. Some of them are constructive, some of them are usually the counter. I just expect that if the chairman is not controlled, not ousted, and you now have an acting chairman, the party would have to hasten up and hold the convention to fill a vacant office, substantive offices. And so I don't see where the issue of Southeast or any other region comes from. I expect that the party should have a replacement from the same zone, from the same region where the ousted or SOI chairman comes from.
Okay.
That shouldn't pose so much of a difficulty. If the party calls a convention and then decides to recalibrate the distribution of offices. Yes, it has the powers so to do, but I don't think that just for the mere fact that a particular officer who came from a particular zone based on the distribution of offices, having resigned and left that office, so therefore that office does not expire. It just means that somebody else must step into the office from that zone and who has to emerge through a convention of the party.
Now, let me ask, does the resignation of Senator Abdullahi Adamu prevent him, and of course that's of Viola Omishara, does it prevent them from being sanctioned if they are being found guilty of money laundering, of misappropriation of funds? I understand that, of course, you've confirmed yourself that this report or speculations or accusations are coming from high-ranking member of the party. The fact that he has been accused of not being accountable or not being able to account for the funds so far that has been in the party's account, and of course other issues as well. And for a man who wasn't even in support of the president that emerged as the president from that party, as a candidate of that party, it simply means that whatever policy would be made or whatever people that will emerge will emerge later from the party. Of course, the appointment the president would make will not he won't be in support of it. Already we saw what happened when we all saw the body language of the president, Senator Godswill Akpabio emerging as the Speaker of the 10th Senate. And of course, if that is true, that he wasn't in support of it, he didn't like the fact that the president had emerged as the winner of that election through that party, because he wasn't in support of him being the candidate of that party. And when the president had chosen Akpabio, because that was the president's choice to become the Senate president, which was being voted into office, does it mean that him dropping a resignation, maybe he saw the handwriting on the wall that he may face a vote of confidence, or he may be called to, make account for this particular thing or that? Does his resignation stop him from being sanctioned or being called to, talk about the missing funds?
Well, there are two things involved in respect of sanction and then the allegations leveled against him. The SWR national chairman is sanctioned because there is a conflict of interest in the exercise of powers of his office, as against that of the president and commander-in-chief. Well, there is actually no sanction because those are political differences. But would there be a sanction supposing the allegations of embezzlement and fraud and so on leveled against the national chairman by some members of the National Working Committee are investigated by agencies saddled with that responsibility and they are found to be true? Yes, of course. It is the power. It is right within the powers of those agencies to carry out actions either to prosecute or not to prosecute. But also recall that as far back as 2010, Senator Adamu was arraigned by the EFCC over a 15 billion naira fraud. This is as far back as 2010. And I think that the commission slowed down on those actions when he emerged, or when he was emerged as chairman of the party sometime last year. So the security agencies can decide to do what needs to be done if it is seen that he is culpable, if it is seen that the allegations against him are true and proved. Yes, they may decide to arraign him. But for the singular reason that he has disagreed, or he has expressed opinion, or he has demonstrated a disposition which is different from the body language and the intention, or desire of the president or the Senate president, that is not actionable in law. If he is arraigned today for any offense, it will be for the fact that, yes, it is true that the allegations of embezzlement of funds belonging to the party have been proven against him, or that the EFCC decides to reopen the old cases it had against him. and then the case will go to court.
Okay. I think one more question. Do you see the resignation of both the former chair Adamo and of course the national secretary Ihola as a development or as something that will cause a setback to the party? I understand that, of course, like you said, the position must be filled, but internally, do you see it as it could cause some sort of setback?
Well, I don't think. I think ordinarily these are things that happen every now and then.